Alright, and welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. It has been 13 days since I did a little technique to this tree. I will put the link to the video to that in the description. I took and I cut a wedge out of the trunk. I bent it over some. It seems to have worked pretty well. I took the guy wire off a couple days ago. It might have sponged back up just a little bit, but not much. I mean, that happens. Then, I was going to leave the wire on, even though it really didn't help with the bend. I was just going to kind of leave it on, hoping that it would stay in place. But I did notice on this side, and let me see if I can give you guys a quick close-up of that. I did notice on that side that it's got some roots coming out of the wound there. And I don't want to ruin that. So I'm going to go ahead and take the wire off now, and then see if I need to put the guy wire back on there, because obviously the wire may allow it to, or taking the wire off may allow it to stand back up. And then I'm probably going to go ahead and give the tree just a light trim too. Because it's in a pot this small and it's a really aggressive growing tree, I know I won't be able to leave it in here long, but I'd like to, if I can induce a little bit of back budding, I'd like to get some back budding going. And there I talked about not wanting to damage that root, and now I'm doing the work without really paying attention to where it is. Alright, now I don't know if you guys can see that little motion there or not. It did move back up just a little bit. I think I will put the guy wire back on, but while it's off right now, I am going to go ahead and just do some light trimming. And what I've noticed, I've got another one of these that I'm probably, this is I don't know, when I first got this Ficus rianne, I tried to look up information on it and couldn't find hardly any. And it's taken the rootings, the cuttings so well that I'm getting a little bit of practice on it. But I noticed that, first it's the branches are, when they're small and flexible enough to wire, they're really, really small. And then as soon as they get any kind of girth on them at all, they get really brittle. And they get really busy with all kinds of... But I actually did notice, what I was going to say is I did notice on the other trees that if I separate out the branches and kind of take out the ones that grow up, the ones that grow straight down, and the bar branches and all that, and kind of flex them like this, that they actually kind of do stay in place. So I'm going to work my way up, and then what I'm going to wind up either hedge pruning the top really hard, or maybe even just taking the whole apex off, depending on where, when I get up. And again, it's the idea of, left branch, right branch, no bar branches until you get to the crown, and then the crown you can start breaking the rules. I'd like to keep this tree around this size here in the smaller pot. It probably won't take off like my other cutting did and everything, but it does have the ability to do that. I did this little wedge cut and everything, and it never even wilted up the next day or anything. And if you watch that video, I cut halfway through the trunk. Over halfway, actually. So it's got, again, you don't want more than one branch coming out of a spot at a time. So a couple of those popping out there. And then I noticed, so then after you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches, and then it goes to a fork, which is like, it's kind of what you want. You want to get more as it goes up. But the first fork has couple branches coming right at it, right where it's split, and that's part of the, I don't like the way that looks. I don't really know if that's a specific rule or not. This branch then is coming back on the other fork. So I want to take that off. And then after that, it really does kind of become the crown, and there's not really, I mean, this fork actually kind of puts off another one. If I keep, so I'm thinking I might cut one of the forks off. If I keep this one, if I keep this, I sometimes I forget that you guys aren't seeing exactly what I'm seeing. I was thinking about keeping this and then allowing that to become the crown, but then there's like, that's almost pole straight and there's no movement to it. So what I might do is take this one off. That kind of puts it angling back up out that way, but might help just kind of calming it down a little bit. And then, like I said, yeah, that should work. And then, like I said, just kind of taking and pruning that back off. Alright, and now I'm going to try to, excuse me, I'm going to try to get this guy wire set back on here. I tried positioning it in a couple places, and it's going to have to go back to where it was. Just wish it would stop sliding up on this pot like it is. I've had these, I use guy wires all the time, but usually I have them in plastic pots where I can just poke a little hole in the side there. And right now the trick is I'm just trying to get it to stay in place long enough to where I can start tightening it a little bit. Working with these Kleins gives me little flashbacks of working construction when I was younger. Kind of miss those days sometimes. Nobody's parents calling school complaining that you called them a douchebag or anything. I do like my job now, but sometimes it's nice to have a job where you can just go home and not think about work anymore, not think about planning what you're going to do tomorrow or anything like that. Alright, and now that's back in place there. Oh, I got to thinking about construction a little bit and broke me a little sweat. But, I'll go ahead and cut those off there. But I left all these growing tips so that it can continue to widen out. I really like to have it wider than tall. Took off the one apex, part of the apex, kept the piece there that'll leave a little movement into it. Maybe the next time I will try to bring it back over the tree a little bit. I mean, when I say I kind of picture the tree not being much bigger than this in the long run, I don't picture it being much bigger than this, but you know, probably when it gets to a nice trim spot about here, I'm going to have to think about putting in another pot. This is another pot that has a little lip on it. This is going to be rough to get out, but one thing I did learn when I repotted the other one the other day is that they'll take whatever kind of abuse, so whatever kind of chopping I do or whatever, it'll come out of there and be fine, but I'm going to try to leave it in here for a few more years. I mean, it's only been in here like, I think 6 months or so, So here's the other side. The other side is kind of the front I've been thinking, although sometimes it is one of these things of now I actually think that might have been a better front, but then of course you're not getting the wideness of the pot in there. But the way that the root spread is, there's no way I'd ever get it in there like that. I mean, I guess I probably could, it would survive, but next time I uppot it, it'll should hold into place. But I'm hoping that these roots coming out there kind of give it the illusion that those were aerial roots that popped down. They were actually just roots that came out of the Cambrium, almost like it was an air layer or something, but came out. And I hope they'd kind of drop down and land. Should help also just kind of cover up the Nabari a little bit and just make it look kind of exotic. But the way I was working on it, that would be the front. But no matter how you look at it, I like it. I think it's nice.